Today, this is ChillPoint, where we talk about CheckPoint and we put it on the Loading Ready Live YouTube channel. Whereas CheckPoint goes on the Loading Ready Run YouTube channel. So
That's
you
right.
don't get those confused.
So if you want the full story, you gotta watch both.
Exactly.
That's how we get you.
Yeah.
That was a good bit.
That is why we do that whole bit, is so we can get people.
Yeah, so we can get
them,
people.
Force them to watch two whole YouTube channels.
Yeah, and put out content so we can get people. It's been working so far.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody? Well, welcome to the show. How are you doing, Beej and Heather?
I'm all right. I've been sleeping weird this last week.
He woke up about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
So he's here, which is great.
Yeah.
I've been up for
Hours.
That's 2 p.m. Yeah, I've been up for hours.
But it's okay, because I finally fell asleep at 6 a.m. I think.
I definitely woke up around 5 and your phone was a blinding light of something
Yeah.
in my face.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
If you, by the way, as Sting, if you want to look at Beej and Graham from back in a time when their sleeping schedule was maybe a little bit more regular, the mail time from March just went up.
Yeah.
So check that out.
Corey did a very good job on it. It's so good. You should tell Corey how awesome it is after you watch it.
Yeah.
Or before, in anticipation. Because you know it's going to be awesome.
That might be a little much to like, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure it's really good.
Yeah, I guess that might be a
It's
little
like kind of that thing
patronizing.
that-
Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of thing that parents do. Be like, oh, honey, I'm sure whatever you've done is really good.
I'm not even going to watch it. So, how's it going? I got some delicious... My brother got me like a tea of the month thing.
Ooh.
Tea box or whatever. They give me 4 teas. So I'm
Ooh.
drinking organic Japanese kuki cha. Which
All right.
is it's a tasty thing. It's the description of it though is the good news: no one will covet your tea because they'll wonder why you're drinking twigs.
Ah.
The better news, it's incredible. It's a I forget. There's a certain term for it, but it's like it looks like it's like stems and sticks and things that are like as a separate part of the tea refining process, but very tasty.
Nice. That's awesome.
All right, Beach, what are you drinking?
I am drinking fridge tea that I've made in the fridge.
Ah, yes.
I put 3 bags of Earl Grey in a bunch of water and let it sit overnight.
Yes, we cold brew tea in the fridge that way. It's actually pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I've got chai, though, so it's hot tea.
I do have that can of the stuff that I got from Jaga Silk in order to do the tea brewing thing on Jagavision on Jaga Silk's YouTube channel.
Have you been able to bring yourself to try to make it again?
The other day I pulled it down and I put it on top of my cutting board and I'm like, I will come back and drink you.
Oh,
later
is that why
tonight.
that was just sitting there?
It's like I'm gonna come back and have you.
Yeah, that
And
didn't
then-
work out, did it?
It was so late in the evening by the time I finally came back. I was like, I should not be drinking whatever I'm about to make here tonight. So I put you back and I was like, that's fine. I'll drink something else.
I do like taking the tea down, putting it there, and it'd be like, I will have you, and then leaving, just
not.
letting the tea just think about it,
Just letting it stew.
letting it steep, you might say. The anticipatory fear adds to the flavor. Anyway, so let's talk about video game news. For people who haven't seen the stream before, this is ChillPoint, where we chill and talk about the video game news of that we did on CheckPoint, which the more observant among you might have noticed that I haven't changed the lower third from what it was last week.
Yeah,
But
because
to
it's
be
all
fair,
the same
we
stories.
we are still talking about Xbox and let's say Xbox, PS5,
Yep. Spider-Man.
uh,
and hentai.
Spider-Man.
We just
and
pretend that one doesn't exist.
Nintendo.
How about Spider-Mungus?
Spider-Mungus.
Because it was an Among Us story.
Right, we do The Spider Among Us.
Ah, yeah. Ooh, I like that. And
I mean, that's what that game's really trying to do, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to find out which one of them is pretending to be a spider, or is the spider pretending to be normal? I'll get that correct.
if you're looking for somebody pretending to be a spider, look for somebody who's got like those 3 extra arms like attached with wires. That's the dead giveaway.
Yeah.
As
You're
we're
not a
going
real
into
spider.
as we're going to October, yeah. If a kid comes to your door dressed like that, hey, wait a minute. You're not a real spider. That's just a costume.
Yes, actually, we can just get. I guess trick or treating is probably not going to be really a thing, but dress up your kids as Among Us players and send them out. That's got to be a much easier costume to make. And it's basically just
Like
going to
a-
be
it's
a
like a
hazmat suit
yeah,
to
it's-
keep them safe.
Yeah, it's a great combination. It's like a hazmat suit so they don't have to touch anything, and also it's a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
So, stories we did talk about during CheckPoint. We talked about this whole pre-order dealio. I mean, there isn't that much to go into about this. Of course, we all heave a heavy sigh that apparently, we still, as a society, haven't learned how to do pre-orders. There's extenuating circumstances with the pandemic and so forth, but it's not like they didn't know all this stuff was happening.
Yeah.
I think that might have been some of the problem for the retailers, though. They weren't informed that some of this stuff was happening.
And also some of the retailers apparently didn't inform Sony that they were going to do like people the street date or whatever you want to call it, the date for the pre-orders seems to have been more of a guideline than an actual like solid date.
Yeah.
Sony didn't seem to really emphasize that nobody was supposed to do it early.
Yeah, and it's weird because did I screw that up again? My opinion of that is that if Sony said I did it again. If Sony said that they were going to do these are when these pre-orders are supposed to come in, and this is when they're supposed to be happening, that kind of thing, then I would assume that anybody who broke street date and said, "Hey, we're taking pre-orders right now through our website," like Best Buy did, that Sony could basically just say, "Look, we didn't open pre-orders at that time, so anything that you tell us that you have pre-ordered before the time that we said the pre-orders were up, those don't count because our online store pre-orders come first," right? They could have acted like that, because I don't think that.
That would have been pretty brutal.
It would have been pretty brutal, but it also kind of feels to me like it's their product. Nobody in the world is going to neither Best Buy nor Walmart nor any of the other big companies are going to say, "We're mad at you for being this. We're mad at you for." What am I supposed to do here?
Plug it in.
I'll plug it in. All right. It seems to be plugged in now.
Thank you.
I kind of feel like that they would be able to, Best Buy isn't going to be like, "Oh, you don't want us to pre-order your PS5 because we fucked up and did it on the wrong day. Well, then we will never sell any PS5 stuff ever again." I don't think Best Buy is ever going to take that stance, because I think they know that it's like, "Oh, we screwed up. and launched everything way too early because we wanted to beat everybody else to market. But I'm like, I don't know. It feels to me like Sony could be like, no, you guys screwed this up, so you don't get to give us these pre-orders. You got to launch your whole pre-order thing one more time.
The idea that like I don't feel like Sony is sort of is that interested in being like, you guys broke the street date, so you don't get any PS5s. But like telling that to like Best Buy isn't going to get them very far, I don't think.
No, because and it wouldn't matter anyway, because even if Best Buy was like, oh, geez, yeah, okay, like one of our workers screwed this up and we got to go back and do it again, it's just them having to, it'll just be the same thing again. Oh, guess what? That allotment of PS5s you're going to give us on pre-order, we sold those out again. Now it's all different people, but it's the same, it's the same shit, different pile.
I saw stuff that said that there were people who didn't know that the pre-orders had gone live, like at their stores, and I don't look at that as like, oh, necessarily an employee of a store decided to do something, so much as maybe there was a miscommunication from Sony, maybe no one knew, because generally that stuff leaks from someone.
I think it was just somebody set something live at the wrong time. They were just putting shit together and be like, I better have all this stuff ready.
Sure,
it's gone live.
I don't know. I see so many times that street dates get broken on video games.
Mm-hmm.
So, sure.
So yeah, you know, it is what it is. I mean, obviously they were going to sell out, regardless of how they sold them. They were going to all sell out. But you know, there is a way to do it so that, I mean, people are going to get bad feels because they missed the pre-order regardless, but at least you can make it so that it seems a little bit more fair, I guess. But, such is the way of things, I guess. All right, other stuff we got going on. Yes, this Nintendo story, which, you know, I gotta say, Beach, I was a little disappointed. You know, I felt like maybe, you know, that there wasn't some, you know, we didn't have any like hardcore journalism going on.
Yeah.
You know, eyewitness accounts.
Mm-hmm.
First person narrative stuff going on.
I did real investigative journalism.
Yeah, that you had to write the story reliant on other people's accounts.
I have to say, though, I like your use of the term hardcore journalism. That's really good. Thank you.
I believe that could be called gonzo journalism.
Yes. This story is essentially does not really need to be talked about. It was mostly just an excuse for me to just kind of go off on a rant, so I really enjoyed that.
You couldn't find any Nintendo news, huh?
No, I mean, I wasn't the one who even posted this in the document in the first place.
Oh, was it Paul? Yeah. Was this Paul?
Yeah, because it's a hell of a story. But the only real thing that interests me about this, because like adult parody, like sexual parody game stuff, like parody XXX movies exist and have always existed. And so when you say, hey, I've made a video game that exists in that same market, that same kind of space, surely I should be allowed to continue like making this game. But Nintendo's I haven't seen stills. Apparently there is videos of gameplay out on the internet, and I'm just kind of like, I'm of a mood these days where I'm like, the things that I enjoy, I'm not that interested in seeing other people take them and make like fat material out of them these days. It's just kind of not my thing, because I kind of like to keep the stuff that's not supposed to be sexual, kind of keep that not sexual. It's just, I don't know. But this is a thing where it's like,
I believe
the fans come out.
I don't think you need to like be like, I don't know, I've just got this weird thing where I don't want non-sexual things to just randomly like
turn sexual all of a sudden.
That's an entirely reasonable point. You don't have to defend yourself.
Yeah, you don't have to look up Rule 34.
Yes, what got me about this is it's like it sounds like that it comes down to a copyright complaint because specific assets belonging to Nintendo were being used as part of the game, which is part of their copyright complaint, and that's why it says, well, this is getting pulled down. But other things that I read that I couldn't really cram into the story is that the last update to this game was made in 2018.
Okay.
So that's been about 2 years. This guy hasn't done anything with it.
He's got like a Patreon, doesn't he?
He does have a Patreon. He was making money off of it, but apparently there's been no updates to the Patreon for a very long time, like those kind of things. And it's like, this might have also just been something that was a project that he put aside, which is kind of like, I'll get back to working on this when I feel like working on it. Maybe what I've done with this is got as far as I wanted to get with it, and maybe I feel
like the narrative is complete.
Right. So
I've said all I want to say in this domain.
Yeah, and it's like, it's interesting to me that it's like Nintendo, like this has been a thing since 2012. It was probably, I'm sure, under heavy development for the first few years, and then it's just kind of petered off over time. And I was just like, I'm surprised that it took Nintendo as long as it would have to find something like this and then talk about it.
Look, as I said when you were writing the story and everything, maybe they just had safe search on.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of people like at Nintendo. Like, I always remember, of course, there's like Xbox has like all the policy and enforcement people who had to be in like a closed off from the rest of the group, with covered windows and stuff, because nobody else could see what the stuff that they were looking at. But Nintendo's never had, because of the like friend codes and various things, that Nintendo's always been more of kind of a, well, they don't need so much of the of people actively monitoring things. So yeah, maybe most of Nintendo corporate has like safe search on. They're not just, it's just not on their radar.
Yeah.
Like, what people do? How, why? Anyway, Among Us, which, yeah, it's one of those very interesting games that has this weird uptick in sudden excitement. Of course, I only heard about it as a game a couple weeks ago. I assumed it was a brand new release at that point, like Fall Guys or whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently it's been around for over 2 years. Just kind of been going along. 3-person development team. And then something happened. I think a couple of big streamers played a game of it or whatever.
It was I believe,
pushed it out.
Yeah, it was like, crap. And I forget the names actually, but it was like a certain streamer decided to start playing it with their friends, and they're kind of within a certain kind of game community, like Hearthstone or something like that. But then one of those people who played Hearthstone was also somebody who played another game who was friends with a bunch of other streamers. And so they said, hey, we should all play this together. So then they did it on their stream. And then those people went out and said, oh, but I am also a big streamer in like another. So it's like going from little pockets of streaming communities from place to place. And it kind of spread like this weird virus that just like everybody was like, well, you got to play this at least once, right? So they did. And then it was like, oh shit, now everybody's playing it.
I think it maybe fills in for like it's a werewolf-esque game, which is like a simple game I often see being played amongst people at like PAX and whatnot. And as the longer people are starting to try to find other games that are multiplayer that maybe aren't all just shoot 'em ups, this is something new and different for that.
I mean, I've definitely seen the take where it's like, we started out playing, everyone was playing Animal Crossing, building their little gardens and stuff. And then, Fall Guys, where you're competing, but you're doing like, American Gladiators, whatever, all these like obstacle courses and fun stuff and things. And now it's do menial tasks and highly paranoid about everybody else around you.
Yeah, live like confined to a spaceship.
That's where we are, confined to a spaceship with other people who may or may not be trying to kill you, while you have to perform a bunch of pointless, meaningless, menial tasks.
I also had not heard about this game until people were talking about playing it on Lure. And so I just assumed, because the people who were talking about it, I was just like, it's probably some sort of zombie game or something, I guess, that just came out. And then I saw what it was, like, it's just werewolf. oh no, you can technically win by getting all your tasks done. I like this version better. I could just technically run around and try to do my best.
So something that is fascinating actually about it, and I don't know if this will last, but um, obviously through AFK and various other things, the Loading Ready Run crew has played a fair amount of werewolfy type games. We played Secret Hitler on stream a few times. We've played, we've played other stuff, and for instance, was it the don't push the button or push the button or whatever?
Push the button, yeah.
Jackbox game, which is universally between both the crew and viewers is like the one game that everyone says never ever play again.
I like it.
Lots of people in the crew don't like it, and lots of people in chat don't like it, and so this game comes along, and I'm like, oh, it's like a werewolf thing, but people are like really into it, and so who knows if that will continue or whether the kinds of things like people like we stopped playing. Secret Hitler was kind of fun the couple times we played it, but it started becoming difficult to get like a big group together who wanted to play it. And maybe there's something about doing it, online versus in person. You don't have to like look into the face of the person you want to kill.
That spy game too that was also kind of
Spy Party?
Yeah, no, that one that we played with Ian and Corey that like you got a role in Spyfall, yeah.
I think that's what it was.
That has a similar thing. I find when it comes to those games, being in the same room and being intense can be a lot, and then the idea of coming back to that is not necessarily fun for me. But the idea of doing it in a video game where you're not quite like seeing your friends has a different impact.
And I think like Among Us, I think it helps that it's like pretty fast. You've got the tasks that you do, which even when you're dead, you still have like something to do. So there's like stuff it's not just like staring at each other over the table in suspicion. And I mean, when we did the stream of it, we actually had quite a lot of discussion beforehand about how to do the overlay and stuff, and the way we ended up doing it with Graham during the actual gameplay, and then when they do the meeting, having everybody's face cam come in was deliberately because we realized that if we set it up like we do like a Jackbox game where everyone's face is in the shot, that totally changes the dynamic because now you are looking at everybody else, and we actually didn't want to have that. So the players in our game of Among Us, the players were never watching the stream, so they never saw the other people's faces and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we didn't think it would. We thought that might kind of mess up the whole system.
I watched the first hour of that stream, Paul, and I thought your layout choices were actually really good, especially when people's cameras started to disappear from the discussion because they were ghosts now. I really quite enjoyed that, and just getting to see Graham, because he died at one point and it was always his gameplay, watching him follow people around as a ghost, and then suddenly like this cluster of ghosts because they're all like, we know it's you. It's really good.
The one person or the trader who's left is just like, oh, there's a weird cold spot right here. As if 5 different ghosts are all standing in one spot.
I definitely forgot that the camera was on me pretty much the entire time. Though, I forgot that face cams existed.
That's good. We get the unfiltered beige.
Pretty much, but it is one of those things where it's like, man, if I decided to take off my shirt or something at that point, that would have been problematic for the stream.
You don't generally just.
No, I know.
Okay.
Generally don't.
If we, if and when we do it again, I have some changes I want to make to actually because the muting and unmuting people was a little awkward, but other than that, I was quite happy with how that turned
Yeah.
Anyway, also Spider-Man.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
The point of the story, reason we did the Among Us story was because
it wasn't just talking about our stream.
During our stream, we were having so many problems trying to get online and trying to use the servers that apparently the Among Us crew just said, you know what, maybe we should fix this game because Loading Ready Run is having all this trouble. That is not why they did this, but I like to think that's why. But during the stream, it was announced that they would be canceling Among Us 2 so that they could put their 3 workers and the 1 coder back to work fixing and improving a bunch of stuff in the game that people currently have, as opposed to saying, hey, we're going to make a new version of this game. And I understand the motivation where if your game has been out for 2 years and you just slowly have seen numbers like just decrease and decrease over time, and it's just kind of like, and then all of a sudden they just rocket up over the course of about 2 weeks, you're kind of like, oh shit, everybody discovered our game and they love our game. We better make a sequel so that everyone will buy the game and we'll have all these cool new things. And I understand that motivation, but I think it was the wrong motivation.
Well, I think maybe it's also the idea of we just start over and we make a sequel and then we don't have to redo our code,
which makes sense. But the motivation of we'll make a new game and then still charge $6 for it or whatever. Because I'm sure part of this was also so that the reason why Among Us takes off as well is because it is so cheap on Steam. That for $6 you can get into it, and so it's kind of like, oh well, I can invite my friends. They'll be like, $6 to play for the evening? Sure, why not? I'll do that. If it was $20, you'd probably people be like, I don't know, what if I don't like this game, right? So I have this sense that they were really on the idea of we'll make a sequel, because then we can afford to bankroll a new version of this game, and I think they probably canceled it because there's too many problems they know, like morally, I guess maybe that's the thing, is we're like, they know that they need to address with how the current game operates, and they won't be able to make a new game in the amount of time that they need to try to keep all these people as part of their player base.
I mean, yeah, it is free on iOS, but it's got in-app purchases, so I don't know what that means.
And I kind of feel like they canceled it because they're like, wait, if we don't fix these problems, we're going to hemorrhage people, or someone else is going to come up with a better version of this, or we'll discover there already exists a better version of this, or something along that line that has better online play, and then people will just start to peel off and start playing that game instead. And I'm like, that's a very real possibility. And it sucks because they're saying that the old code base is outdated, and whatever that means specifically, I don't know. But if it means that trying to improve the old code base is going to take them a longer time than starting it new, I don't really know what any of that means. But I think you have a single coder and you're like, I guess I should work on the devil I know instead of trying to develop the devil I don't know.
I mean, it's obviously not a new problem with any software thing, right? How much resources do you devote to maintaining and fixing the version that's currently out, and what about the next version? And different people have had different solutions for that. It's a common thing, especially in in software where there is either one person or a very small group of people who are doing the programming and stuff for it. That happens all the time, especially in like open source software. People will be you'll get a thing that'll be like, we're going to take a year off and make the next version of this thing. We're just going to do that. And, it's open source software. So it's not the same thing in terms of like paying customers. So people just kind of get grumbly about it. And then they come out with like the new version, and, it might be better or it might be worse. Sometimes it's worse because, they've taken a year off to do other things. But that is always a tricky one. And of course, when you have such a small team, you have to make the choice. And I mean, it sounds like some of the changes that they want to make, adding new colors, adding colorblind support and stuff, seems relatively straightforward. Obviously, server stuff, who knows what is involved in that. It's I'm sure those kinds of things are always more complicated than you think.
Yeah. And if they knew that, like, 'cause as an example, if their server thing, because they have a North America, Asia, and Europe is kind of the choices you get when you're trying to pick from whatever. And like, it makes me feel like they've co-located a server or a few servers or servers of a certain oomph in different areas, as opposed to being like, we put everything on Amazon Web Services or on Microsoft Azure, and that's how. And then we can scale up and down depending on the amount of people who are actually needing to use the servers for communication. Like, who knows how they've actually done that stuff on the back end? I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked. I'm sure people could figure that out.
This game is a couple years old.
Yeah.
When did they announce that they were going to do the sequel? Does anyone know?
It was a couple months ago, wasn't it? Like, or was it like? Or it was fairly recently.
Did they announce it before it kind of took off?
No.
No.
I think they announced it. They announced it like while it was sort of surging in popularity.
Mm.
And I mean, that's what you do, right? You're like, oh shit, we just got a huge influx of money.
I'm just saying, like, you're suggesting that maybe they were making the wrong decision, and I want to suggest that maybe they were like, yeah, okay, this is starting to take off, but if we make it new, then people will do whatever. Except now it's become more popular. Maybe it is. They have looked at those numbers and said it's way more worth it for us to fix and do the old one, because now we already have a player base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Than to try and push out a new one.
But I think if you're being honest with yourself, that when you see this kind of the kind of people who just glom onto your game this fast, that it's like this is your 15 minutes, and if you say you're developing a new game, then hopefully you're going to keep the interest of the majority of those 388,000 peak players that are like, I want to come back and keep playing this game in the future. But I think you also have to be a little more, you have to be able to admit to yourself that it's like, oh, we had this huge surge because everyone's doing this because they wanted something new and fun to do. We might not be able to have the new game ready by the time these people are still interested in playing it.
Sure. You might not be able to fix the current one while they're still doing whatever either. But at the same time, while this is the new hotness, it's not like people stopped playing Fall Guys outright.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one, but it's a fun game. And it certainly, I believe we do have plans to do more streams of it in the future. So keep an eye on the schedule for that. Do you want Spider-Man remastered? You might get it. We won't go through this entire complicatedness, but it's basically Nintendo or Sony has they have so many different upgrade paths and digital and versions of the game.
Yeah.
And different versions of the games, and they come with different things and are upgradable in different ways. That you wonder whether taking a bit of a shortfall on maybe not getting the $20 from as many people because they already have the other version, just to try and like simplify the matrix of what you need to do to get which version. You think that that maybe that would be worth it just so that people understand it, but who knows?
It's funny too, because like the what killed me about this was that the way that Kotaku represented the story, like the way they summed it up, was essentially the first sentence of what I read. If you had Spider-Man on the PS4, you won't get to upgrade it for free to the PS5 version. And it's like, that's very clear. And that's the thing that people really care about, I think, is it's like, do you own Spider-Man on the PS4? Well, no, you don't get to upgrade it for free. Well,
because that's the thing. New gen's coming out, and there's the talk of like, well, do you get to have an upgraded version, or are you just playing the old version? And I think with Sony, some stuff is if you already have is upgrading, and other games are doing a more roundabout thing where they're like, well, sure, we can't do that though. So if you buy this other edition of our game now or whatever, and Spider-Man's kind of doing that.
Yes, except that the point is, if you own Spider-Man on the PS4, you won't get to upgrade it for free to the PS5 version.
Yes.
And that's really the capsule of that incredibly long statement that I read, which is and it's the thing that people are interested in, right? They're like,
yes, and
okay,
I'm telling you why people are interested in that.
No, I get that, but it's like, it's not a thing of like, well, hey, we're upgrading some things, we're upgrading not some other things, and there's all this kind of double talk and talking around each other and whatever else. And I'm like, right, but the nugget of the thing is, if you own the PS4 version, you don't get to upgrade it for free to the PS5 version. I'm like, that would have been way easier for them to say right off the bat. And then they could say that there are other ways you can get it, but if you own it for PS4, it does not upgrade for free to the PS5 version. You can just play it on the PS5, but it's not the PS5 version.
That's right.
That would have been very straightforward.
PR company would rather be straightforward and tell you that you can't have the thing that you're going to want, instead of giving you some word soup, salady thing.
Like it's essentially that they don't want you to be able to get the new one without paying some money.
Something, yeah.
You have to buy something.
Yes.
What you buy, there's a variety of things you could buy that may or may not get you a variety of other things. But the thing that most people already own, which is the Spider-Man for PS4, won't get you anything. That's the...
Yeah.
So you're going to have to pay some money to somebody at some point.
And it's weird, right? Because it's like the only way to do it is you're going to have to buy Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PlayStation 4. Or rather, you're going to have to buy Spider-Man Miles Morales in some way, whether it's for the PlayStation 4 or whether it's the Ultimate Edition on the PlayStation 5. You're going to have to buy that game in order to give you some sort of path to get to Spider-Man Remastered on the PlayStation 5. And it's just like... Because you can't buy Spider-Man Remastered on the PlayStation 5. There's no standalone offer.
But was that part of the... Because they were doing this thing at the event where they showed off a bunch of PlayStation 4 games that you could just have on the PS5 if you had PS Plus. And if Spider-Man was among those, and if that counts as the remastered version, then technically you could get it that way. Without really owning it.
I don't know if that's the case, though. Like,
stuff works.
Because to me, if I'm showing off a bunch of games that are saying these will be available for free, that you can play them on the PlayStation 5, I might not necessarily say that these are the PlayStation 5 versions of these games. They are the PlayStation 4 versions of the games. You can play them for free.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking. It's
I mean, we've read a bunch of stories about this and written a story about this, and it's still...
Not clear.
It's basically...
PS collections of PS4 games? Yeah, okay.
Okay. Let's talk about some other stuff.
Yeah.
Including the inside of a Fall Guy. Which is a thing that is canonical. That is a image created by the... wait, let me pull up the image here so that everyone can see it.
You should bring the horror into the show.
The official concept art developer.
I would like to point out that now, if you are looking for a Halloween costume for your bird, this is the perfect one to go with.
The person for scale is nice, so we can see how wrong it is.
They're so tall.
Yeah, they're large.
I thought they were smaller.
No, they're 6 feet. Yeah.
So the question is, what is the stuff? Like, what is the rest of the Fall Guy that isn't skeleton made out of?
Meat.
Is it just like
meat? The human body, the things that aren't like skeleton or meat?
Muscle, fat, and skin.
Or is it
organs?
Or is it some sort of
maybe?
like, I don't know, inflatable thing?
Ah, like Baymax.
Oh.
Yeah. That makes it so that they can fall and bump into each other without hurting each other so much.
I don't know that all of it is inflatable, but definitely, yeah, okay, I could see that.
I love the way the way the skull is in the center of the head, but then the designer was like, we need to connect it to the eyes. Otherwise, this won't make sense. It'll look weird.
Is it kind of like a when you say Betamax, is it kind of like there's a thing inside of a costume, or is this still like an inflatable skin?
It's I'm going to assume it's an inflatable skin that's just it's air floating around in there. I have seen other depictions of what the inside of a Fall Guy looks like, and indeed posted them to a Slack the other night. And they were essentially like tachikomas. They were ride-along tanks that cute anime girls climb inside. The back opens up and they get inside them, and then the thing closes in, and then they pilot them around.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have access to that Slack or not, Paul, but if you happen to go to...
That was not true.
If you went to my specialized image dump area, you could probably find them.
Stay away from there for a reason.
I'm not going to look for there.
They're not nude anime girls. They're just...
Yeah, lots of people wear clothes underneath costumes.
Yeah.
Other stuff here. Let's see. Microsoft bought Bethesda, or they bought ZeniMax. Or they bought ID Software. They bought ZeniMax, which is, I believe, the holding company for ID Software, Bethesda, and a bunch of other stuff.
And it's funny to me that people are losing their minds because they spent $7.5 billion, and they're like, I can't believe they spent that on Bethesda. You know, like, they only spent $2 billion on Minecraft. And my thing is like, so hang on. You're fucking agog that Microsoft spent $7.5 billion on ZeniMax and a plethora of AAA renowned titles in the gaming space. But you're like, oh yeah, $2 billion for one single game. Yeah, that makes sense actually when I think about it.
This is really a beach ranty episode, isn't it?
I think a lot of people are seeing, like, they bought Bethesda and are like, really, they want Elder Scrolls, like, and they don't see the rest of it, or like they want Fallout. But yeah, this is a pretty big one of the big studios, up there with Electronic Arts and Activision and so forth. That is now under the Microsoft umbrella. Now, I don't know if new information has come out, but the last I saw, they've been fairly cagey about, things that might become Xbox exclusives. They've been saying that they're going to do it on like a case-by-case basis.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
the fear, of course, is that suddenly, all the next Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Doom and all these games are going to suddenly become Xbox or PC exclusives.
I feel like at most they might be. It's possible that they'll also just be launch exclusives, like Will of the Wisps, Ori and the Blind Forest. Those were Microsoft exclusive games, I think, when they came out. And you can get them on the Switch now.
Yeah, Minecraft is on everything, and Microsoft hasn't turned around and been like, oh, well, I guess we'll start pulling Minecraft off of everything.
Well, it's especially since Sony or since Microsoft is so big on the PC Xbox intercompatibility thing right now. So the fact that like games that at least the games will probably be coming out on PC as well as Xbox bodes well, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really going to just depend on what they want those games used for. Do they want it to try and push console sales? Do they think that it will do that? Or would they rather put it on a multi-platform thing, do a launch exclusive, those kinds of things? Because one of these things they don't think will maybe just sell consoles, but they could get people to play the game. They can make money off of that.
I did like the take that people were where it's like Todd Howard has been trying to get you to buy Skyrim for every possible console and every possible iteration for like the last several years, and now thanks to Xbox Game Pass, you'll be buying Skyrim once a month for every month forever.
I mean, that's the thing too. It really could just be this makes Game Pass really good for us, and people will come and buy Game Pass. And maybe we don't care if people buy our box to play that game. maybe they can buy the other box to play that game, but they will still want to get Game Pass.
And as kind of a related thing, and it's obviously this story launched late yesterday, and we would have no idea, like we wouldn't have had any idea to talk about this during Checkpoint. But Amazon launched Luna, which is their new cloud gaming thing, and part of Luna apparently is that they're going to allow people to game via the web, which is how they're going to be able to put it on iOS devices. And so there's been some speculation that if that's going to work on iOS devices in that way, that means that's probably how Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass is going to work on iOS as well. And that starts to feel like, okay, so it is a move to be like getting games to be able to be played anywhere you want on any system you want through that server method. This is like, it sounds pretty good to be like, let's just start assembling a gaming portfolio, because why not start doing that? You know, it's like Disney's amalgamation of IP.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing that's happening now too.
One of the interesting aspects of this is Microsoft already owned Obsidian.
Right.
So now they own both Bethesda and Obsidian, which could be cool, because Obsidian is the people who made like Fallout New Vegas, the one that everyone, the
most recent one everyone loves.
The popular one, yeah.
And so there's some interesting sort of synergies there that could be fun. Also, I love this. There's a great line here from Microsoft. Was it? One of the things that has me most excited is seeing the roadmap with Bethesda's future games, some announced and many unannounced, to Xbox console and PC. So yeah, I love this idea that Microsoft is like, that like Microsoft was basically just the impression I like Microsoft executives, go into Bethesda just to get a little, like, Bethesda showing them around, showing them what they're going to be doing with this Xbox Series X. They show them their planned, game roadmap coming up, and Microsoft looks at it and is like, we should just buy these guys. These are all great games. We want all of these games. Let's just buy these guys. Like that's what it was. That like, oh man, if you'd seen the things that we've seen, you would put $7.5 billion into this as well. Trust me. What else we got going on here?
Incoming news.
No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky.
Nomansky!
Ooh, a skiing game.
John Nomansky, the space explorer extraordinaire, star of No Man's Sky. They are bringing out. They just brought out their latest update, which rather confusingly is called Origins, which those the more observant among you might remember that No Man's Sky is like 3 years old at this point. So Origins at this point seems a little bit, but the idea, No Man's Sky is a very interesting game from a marketing and development perspective, right? It was a game, they had this big sort of marketing thing that completely collapsed on them for a variety of reasons, that it was sort of that there was all sorts of over-promising.
Yeah, definitely a lesson. A lesson can be learned.
Yeah. Over-promising both from the developers, from the publishers, and kind of over-expectations from consumers that people didn't. The gaming media didn't temper very much.
No.
Oh, gee, the gaming media temper expectations.
I would say that I forget what his name is. The the main guy behind Hello Games.
We can call him John Nomansky if it makes it easier on you.
But there was this thing where Sean Murray. That's it.
Thank you.
Is the game director. He's partially responsible for these big expectations, but he if you look at some of the like conversations and stuff that he had going up to it, into the release of the game, he does kind of he did. I think he's learned his lesson, but the kind of the Peter Molyneux thing, which is who's also known for where it's basically people ask him questions about what could be in the game.
Right.
And he will start imagining what could be in the game and speculating out loud about it.
Right.
About things that he thinks could be neat to be in the game. But that is not him. He doesn't realize that by saying that out loud, he's basically promising that is going to be in the game at launch.
Right.
Or that's how it's perceived. And so a lot of these kind of auteur developers have a problem with that, where it's like what they're doing, they think, is just kind of like blue sky speculating about cool things that could be in the game.
It's the reason
things
why
that they're not going to rule out.
I don't like to jump too much into speculation on our own fan base about things, because we can make things happen, and speculating about the thing that you can have involvement in and try to shape does not help when you're the one who can do those things.
So anyway, so the game came out and it was sort of fine, but nowhere near what was sort of expected, because people had all these things. But then, in a kind of it's kind of a surprise thing, they really kept at it and updated it and updated it and updated it, and really substantial updates. And now we're 3 years into the game, and it is basically all the things that were promised are there. I saw somebody comparing it to what do you call it? The silly early access, or the game that isn't coming out ever.
Daikatana.
Dokapon Kingdom? What?
Frog Fractions 2.
No, they did that one already.
Star whatever.
Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Oh, yeah.
Star
Can I have
Citizen,
a video game of
that's
that?
There we go. Star Citizen. Perfect.
That's what I'm talking about. I've seen it compared to Star Citizen, where it's this sort of thing where like Star Citizen or No Man's Sky is what happens when you force a game like Star Citizen to actually come out. People are disappointed by it, but then they keep pushing at it and actually do kind of create what they kind of promised. Whereas Star Citizen is content to just not come out and keep promising. But so anyway, they put out this Origin update, and what they've said is the reason why they're calling this the Origin update is that they've been basically running full tilt for a couple of years now, making the game what they promised, and they're pretty happy with where it is. And this Origin update is kind of quality of life, both for the players and also for them, in terms of making a lot of behind the scenes stuff to be Origin in the sense of like a new start for them, so that now they can keep building on it, which is quite a neat idea. Also, I love that in the world, because the world of No Man's Sky, of course, is it's the big thing about it was this procedurally generated universe. There's 100 billion planets that you can go to, and nobody will ever see all the planets and stuff. And of course, as they update the game, they add things and change things and add new, there's new weather systems and there's new all this stuff. And so you have this weird circumstance where like they update the game, and if you're flying along in the game, suddenly new planets are appearing.
Jesus!
In the galaxy.
Oh,
right?
That sounds cool, though.
Yeah.
There's like planets where there weren't planets before.
Isn't that calming?
And a planet that they've said that they've tried to minimize the amount of like gameplay affecting things that are going to happen on planets that people like. If you have your base built on a planet that you've found, that planet won't suddenly become like have earthquakes because they've added earthquakes into the game and destroy your base. Like they've tried to imagine. They've added like new weather effects and make things nicer, but they've tried to make it so that the existing planets aren't being changed too much. So they'll actually add new planets
It would not be great for a player, but you imagine having your base on a planet. They're like, okay, we just need to shift this planet over a little bit so that we have room for this other planet, and suddenly it's just like, poop.
And you're kind of like left floating.
And you're like,
I was standing on this planet a minute ago.
It's a very.
I need to be over there.
Very like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, I don't see why you're complaining. There was a notice that your planet was going to be moved 12 parsecs to the left. We've had that notice there for several months.
You could have come down to your town office and seen the plans and put up a petition, but you didn't.
Anyway, so yeah, I played a little bit of No Man's Sky on when James and I were playing like 18 games and counting and stuff, or I think maybe it was the random the random game thing, but whatever the case, I played a little bit of it and it was quite fun. I could see getting into it. You know, I'm not like super into the just like crafting and doing things, but there's a lot to do in it. It's kind of a fun. You know, it is definitely one of those games that you can be, you know, you can just be like a person building a base and have that as your whole thing. Or you can take off to the stars and, you know, go visit other planets and trade among different alien races and stuff. Like there's a very large variability in scope. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I've definitely heard better things about it as updates happen to it, and generally from people who hadn't checked it out yet, because people had talked about how buggy it was and there was a lot of complaining at the beginning when things weren't happening that were promised. But I find that as a game gets repeated enough times, sometimes you're just like, fine, I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to do, and I think No Man's Sky has definitely they're one of the definitely a sort of success story of handling a poor launch and really redeeming themselves. Then I think the last story I have here is that this is just kind of something I thought was pretty neat, is that the full source code for the Dark Descent and a Machine for Pigs, which is two very, very spoopy games. Amnesia Dark Descent, by the way, and Amnesia, both very spoopy games. The source code for them is being released just on GitHub. It's still the games are still being sold, but they've released the source code for you to look at and play with, and they adhere to the GPL license. So I mean, the game and the content and stuff is still owned by Frictional Games, but you can look at their stuff and see how they did all their built their engine and all these different things. And especially for these games, I'm hoping that there's going to be more info come out about this now that the source code is up, just about like ridiculous things that are in the game that nobody ever found, or that things that people didn't know how they worked, and now they realize that it's like, oh, that's how that happened. That's why the evil monster kept biting me in the face.
Yeah.
So anyway, I believe all of the Amnesia games have been played on like Let's Nope at various times.
Pretty sure, yeah.
I think so. That seems familiar.
Yep.
Hard to say, though.
Interesting that they chose GPL, because
GPL 3?
Specifically? The idea behind picking the GPL is that anybody can take your code then and work on it. But anything that they make, like anything that whatever work that they do source code wise, they're bound by the license to have to give it back to the project. And there's larger considerations for that, because it's like, if I forked this and I made some changes to it, and then I compiled it at home and I was using it myself, it'd be like, oh, that's fine. You don't have to give your code back because you're just kind of doing a thing yourself. But if you were to take that product and start distributing it, it's like, well, if you're going to start distributing this, then you have to give your code back to us so we can also see what you've done as well. And that anything that you've made is under the same license as well. And it's very, I think that'll be interesting if people decide that they're like, oh, I want to start making changes. And it might also turn into one of those things where it's like id used to do with Doom and Quake, where they're like, well, this engine has run its course. Now we'll put that out into the world, and people can start developing stuff based on that. And
yeah, like I am interested to see if anything pans out from this in terms of people playing around with it. But as a story of this is out there, this is a thing people can go and learn from, because being able to see code is a great way to like learn some stuff if you already know things.
Yeah,
being able to see other people's work is always a really good way to try and learn on top of work you already know.
Yeah,
and so I think that's really cool just in of itself.
It'll be interesting to see if people go looking through it and are like, oh, that's actually something interesting and new that I've learned from this process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I mean, as somebody who does do, some coding and stuff, my tip of the hat to the courage because releasing your source code, especially for like a really old thing that you did a long time ago, it can be very intimidating. You be like, you get to see all the very bad stuff that's there,
Yeah.
We're gonna find out all the shortcuts they took and things. I just realized that I skipped a couple stories here. There's the one here about, which is kind of a nice, touching story, is that there's a new Destiny 2 mission that pays tribute to a guy named Matt Helsum, who was an artist at Vicarious Visions, who passed away last year. And so there's a mission where you do a bunch of stuff, and sent by a journal recording, sent by or posted by some golden age xenoarchaeologist named Helsum. So there's sort of it's a tribute to this guy, which is neat. Unfortunately, it's on Mars in Destiny, which is going away.
Wait,
so,
the whole planet's just going away?
You're going to lose access to it, maybe is the way to think about it. Like...
So the whole Mars, I don't know what the in-game thing is, but the whole Mars area will not be accessible after November 10th.
Whether we wanted it or not.
Yeah, it's going back in the Disney Vault. The Disney
Travel's
Vault
being
really
restricted.
big.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be. I think they expand it.
Blame the Walt Disney Company.
So it's a little bit. I don't know. It seems a little bit odd to make this very touching tribute to the guy on a planet that's about to not be playable. So you sort of put it out there, and then people only have like 2 months to actually see it. But anyway, it's a neat thing to put in there. And yeah, actually, I thought this was a cool thing about an update to the Xbox OS, and this is something that is actually, I believe, coming to Xbox. Like, this isn't just an Xbox Series X thing. I believe this is a general update to the Xbox OS that will be coming to Xbox Ones as well, which is that it will allow you to download any game from the Xbox Store whenever you want, for whatever reason you want. You can't play them unless you own them, but you can download them.
Yeah.
So what that means is that if you're buying a physical version of a game tomorrow, you can go to the Xbox Store, download it, set it to download overnight. It'll download on your Xbox and just sit there, not being able to be played. You stick in the disc, it unlocks, and boom, you play, rather than having to install it off the disc.
Because that is the way of things now, is that when you do get a physical game for PlayStation and for Xbox, that they do have to install onto the console.
When you buy a game that comes on a disc, in current generations, it has to grab all the data from that and put it on the thing. And that's if it doesn't. That's also if it doesn't have like a day one patch download and some other stuff as well.
We've done stories about like whatever 60 gigabyte day one DLC.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting because it has nothing to do with being a pre-order or anything. Like, it's just like, I choose to download this game now. You could do a thing where it's like, you could download a game to the system and be like, I'm not going to buy this yet, but I am going to put it on my system because I'm going to buy it in a week when it's payday or whatever. And then be like, now I have it staring me in the face for the next week. But at least I know that when my paycheck comes in, that I can buy it, start playing it. I don't have to like waste a bunch of time like waiting for the damn thing to download.
And so, yeah, it's like, as Chad said, it's like, yes, it is preloading. Like, that's, obviously, we've been able to do that for many years. But the idea here is that you don't have to have pre-ordered the game. You don't have to have bought the game. You can do it just whenever you want.
Yeah, it's not tied to a purchase now.
Yeah, which is important if you, like, digitally, if you were just going to buy the game outright, you probably would have bought it, preloaded the game, and done the thing. But this is probably more of interest to people who maybe want to buy the physical copy and have it. Like, I think there are definitely times within our office where we've been like, oh, well, so-and-so has a disc of this thing, so they're going to bring it in. And we forget that it needs time to install.
It's weird because it's like, this is corner case city. Like, because you can think of all of the corner cases in which this is like like Frankenstein in chat, or well, I guess it's actually the doctor then. Okay, so Frankenstein in chat said preload games for your kids' birthdays. Right. You want to get your kid a game for their birthday? It's like, well, then you can buy them the game and they don't have to wait, or for Christmas or whatever. Like, you can buy those things when you can actually buy those things, but you can already go ahead and just preload and download, right? Mm-hmm. You can. Let's say you're in the military and you're shipping out and you're like, I want to have some games available for me to play, but
I won't have internet necessarily.
Exactly. So you can go ahead and be like, I'm gonna download these games and put them on the system, but I only want to but they're not available to purchase yet, but I can at least download them and have them ready now, and I can decide to purchase them later. Or I'm gonna get on a plane or something like that, and it's like, I can at least, when I'm in an airport, I can't download the whole goddamn game, but because it's waiting, it's like, oh, it came out. That's right. I can purchase it now in the airport. It downloads the key, it unlocks the game, and I've got to get the game ready to get on the flight with. There's a lot of like I say, it's a lot of corner cases that this is kind of a cool idea for.
Like, I feel like this is one of those things where obviously the technology to do this has been around forever, and so this was just like people sitting around being like, why do we not let people do this? Like, this is less like adding a feature and more just taking away the limitation, where it's just like, why don't we allow, like, obviously the data is all encrypted on the drive anyway. Like, that's not, they didn't need a new thing to do that. And so it's like, what's the problem with letting people download games that they don't own if they can't play them? Can we just let people do that? Why do we limit that? And then everyone kind of sits around being like, why do we limit that? Yeah, I guess we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a really nice feature. Like, it's not going to be like a thing that maybe everybody wants or cares about or needs, but why not?
Yeah, in the cases where it's, in the cases where it's valuable to do that, that people are going to derive value from that. And for the people who aren't using it, they're never going to notice it. So who cares? And there's that thing about, well, what if you can crack the game and crack the encryption? And I'm like, yeah, what if you can do that? I mean, people already pirate games. Yeah, that is already a thing that happens.
I don't feel that this is any, like, that if they have the encryption is cracked, then it's cracked regardless. And if it's not, then it's not. Like, I don't think this is going to open up a whole new area of piracy. So you basically won't need a physical to play it, only to unlock it. I mean, that's like this is not a new features, right? downloading the game or getting it off the disc or whatever has been around for a while. This is just there's no limitation to actually owning the game first yet.
Yeah, I mean, chances are good if you buy the copy physically, even if you download the thing and you use the physical disc to unlock it, that's going to be a thing that it needs to check for, because that's how you own the game, as opposed to a digital copy where it's just like, oh no, I know you have this license and it's on here. Because otherwise you're going to just take that disc and sell it, and they're not going to want that.
Yeah, and there's this sense of like when the thing that I think a lot of us have always had a problem with is like you go to GameStop, you buy a PC game, you get home, you open the PC, you go into the file manager and you realize that all it is like a Steam download manager. It's just basically a thing to be like, you've purchased the game physically on a disc. We provide you with a disc, and when you get home, it's like, yes, this thing will now go download the game. You didn't actually buy anything on the disc other than this unlocks the
that's a different thing.
To do that. And it's like, I think we've always had a problem with that, because you're not actually then getting a game, you're just getting a
download code. And the thing I dislike about having a download code is then you do have to get the thing digitally as opposed to physical, and not everyone has the internet. Like, this is not going to be a thing where somebody who's like, oh, I only have so much internet space, is going to pre-download and then go buy a physical copy. That's going to be a person who's a collector or prefers physical for archival purposes, or just having a case or whatever.
Yeah.
A person who has a limited amount of internet is going to go buy the game and put it in the thing for it to load, because that is them
That's
going
their method.
around.
That's how they have to do it. And I think this is like saying that why don't we just like have game people sell physical keys that came up in chat. Like, what if you could just get a key like that? It's like, that was always the way to do it. It's just getting a key on a piece of media. And it's like, I've never liked that. Yeah.
Already, yeah.
And I don't really like that idea, because to me, it's like, if I make a conscious choice to go buy something physically, then I want to be able to come home and know that if I have no internet, if I'm in a place that doesn't have internet, that it's like, it's not reliant upon me having to have the internet in order to do that. And I know people will be like, well, what about day one patches? I'm like, yes, but when I also expect that when I get a game, that if I have no internet, the game is still playable. I could still play and finish the game with the copy that I have.
Yeah, nothing actually makes me drop buying a game faster than finding out that they've only put half the game on the disc or on the cart, and like you have to download the other half. And I'm like, cool. No.
To be fair, there's a lot of the stuff now. Even if all the game is on the disc and everything, it still requires like a live internet connection to do things, just because they like to authenticate people. But anyway, that's all the news that we thought was interesting. Oh, what was the Animal Crossing stuff?
Oh, Animal Crossing
almost got away without Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing put out a video this morning about the new updates. So Halloween is coming. You can farm pumpkins to get pumpkins to craft them,
and that's literally having a patch of dirt on the ground.
It looks like
planting seeds. Pumpkins will grow.
Well, they show a short clip of it, and I'm not certain if it's going to be like restricted to you better put it in the dirt, like that's the dirt path, or like versus the thing. Otherwise, because the dirt path just looks nice if you're making up a vegetable garden type look thing. I personally assume that you're going to water those pumpkins, and like by the next day you're going to have pumpkins.
Yeah. And the pumpkins are craft items.
Yeah.
And then you can craft Halloween-y, harvest time feeling.
Yeah, and they showed like, hey, change up your character to make them more spooky and that kind of thing.
And I wonder if that's fun. So there's a costuming element, because like, pick out your costume, and I'm like, well, they already have a thing when you have a wand where you can have eight outfits stored in a wand.
Sure.
And I wonder if that's an expansion to that, to be like, you can not only change the outfit you have in your wand, but you can also change your makeup, your face, your hair, everything else, so that
I think they're just gonna get you to go into the character creator.
I hope that's not the case.
I don't think they're doing.
Hi, 3 4/5. We'll talk to you in a minute.
But yeah, they've announced Halloween. It looks like there's some spooky fun furniture involved with that I'm sure many of my witchy friends are going to be very excited about. And
you can buy candy.
They did allude to the Christmas stuff that will come a little later.
And the Thanksgiving stuff.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
I just realized
which for some reason is November, and I don't know why. Go ahead, Paul.
I just realized there's magic wands already in Animal Crossing,
Yes.
and now you're going to be able to grow pumpkins
Yeah.
in Animal Crossing.
There's probably a Halloween wand. There's probably a pumpkin wand.
But there's got to be like a turn a pumpkin into a thing.
Oh, hey. That seems like
that's
fun.
that's a no-brainer, right?
Seems unlikely with the way they've set stuff up, but I do like where you're going with this.
Also, does Nintendo have any hope of owning a property like that? Like, or would Disney be like, I don't know, turning pumpkins into shit is our thing?
I mean, it's not like Disney and Nintendo haven't had, back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if Disney owns turning pumpkins into things.
Look, Nintendo, if you want to make a Magical Girl series just so that you can have a magical thing that can turn other things into stuff, I'd be very interested in your Magical Girl video game.
God, actually, yeah. If they're
Please
like,
just do that.
if they're like, we don't know how to market that, I'm like, take Peach and Daisy and give them Magical Girl video games. Let them do that.
Yes. Do
Aren't
this.
aren't they
I'm good with
magical
this.
princesses anyway?
Apparently, but we
Yes,
never see them
many magical
transform.
girls are also
We never see
princesses.
them use like a wand to do magic. Like,
Peach can float. That's pretty magical.
yeah, I would agree.
Just take it that extra half step, Nintendo. I'll be
and
waiting for your
Rosalina,
phone
yes.
call.
Oh God, yes. So Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina, a
Girl Squad.
you have a trio,
Yes.
right? That's perfect. That's just what you need.
Ah,
You could pretty cure this with like Peach and Daisy, but actually making it like the three girls doing a thing. That would be pretty good.
It's Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and then anybody, like a whole selection of different Mario people for the third person, but wearing the crown.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you could,
I'm good with that.
you could have Toadette and you could have Birdo. There we go.
What about Bowsette? Just make her canon.
All right, let's look at what's coming up for streams. It's the Friday Night Paper Fight, where they're going to be playing some Gladiator in about an hour and a half on Magic Arena. So I don't know what form of Gladiator, but for those of you who don't know, Gladiator is sort of the Highlander version, or the version of Highlander that you can play on Magic Arena with the smaller card base on Magic Arena. But it's a super fun format. And then on Saturday, we have definitely not a Desert Bus test stream.
I thought we had a different name for this one.
We do.
Which the rust proof beef shed. Beef
Yeah, there we go.
Not Beef Shed. There's no F in Desert Bus for Hope. I wish there was,
Are you
because
sure? 'Cause
Rust-Proof Beef Shed would have
I'm
been
pretty
really
sure
good.
that you don't F
There's
don't
not
F
this-
up is sign.
There's not
included in F.
a second F.
You're right. There is no second. Yeah, so Rust-Proof Beef Shed. Rust-Proof. I don't know what that is.
Anyway, we don't really know what it's going to be, but it's starting at 3 and it's going until 9 o'clock or so. And so it'll be a thing that is not a Desert Bus test. And then on Sunday,
Yeah.
there is more theater.
Theatrism.
Theatrhythm. I know.
Theatrhythm?
It's spelled in a weird way, but that is how it's said.
Speaking of physical games,
Yeah.
for the 3DS,
Yeah.
doing some retro gaming.
I have to find out. I have the first one too.
Goddamn
but we're
dead
not going
consoles.
into that one. Hey,
Cool.
Well, technically,
don't call my fun game portable
Console's
device.
right there, Beach.
It's
Don't call
right here.
it
It can hear you. Don't talk shit about the Vita. It's in the drawer behind you.
all right. Yeah, I don't want it to get angry. Get out its walker.
And then on Monday, Alex is continuing with the Play It Forward of Metro Exodus. I believe he's going to be taking on some of the DLC.
Yes,
for that one.
that is what I've heard.
And then it'll be Dice Friends on Monday, and I believe this will be the finale of Best of Intentions. So that'll be super fun. Check that out. And if you haven't seen what we've been doing so far on that, then you can see it on the Loading Ready Run YouTube channel. And then on Tuesday, we're back to 9 o'clock. James and Surgeon Rebellious Uno are playing Minecraft, and Elsinore on Talking Simulator, and the Maid of Skur on Let's Know. Actually, speaking of 9 o'clock, as a little preview.
Oh yeah.
So a week from tomorrow, not Saturday, but next Saturday. That would be
after Rustproof Bee Shed.
Yeah, so that would be
October the whatever.
October the 3rd, I guess. Is it the 3rd?
Let's see. This Saturday is the 26th. So, yeah, the 3rd.
I'll have calendars on your
Thirst. October the Thirst.
October the Thirst, yes. Wait, am I saying this wrong? Is it the 2nd? Is it the... No, is it the 3rd or the 10th? I think it's the 10th. It's the 10th.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Incorrect. It's the October 10th is going to be the second sort of annual Chunk-a-Punch challenge.
And
Chunk.
you know what? Because I was very
punch.
nice to James today,
Punch
I made him
punch.
a playlist for all of the lure-related Punch-a-Chunk stuff over on youtube.com/loadingreadylive. So if you go look in the playlist section of there, you will see Punch-a-Chunk, and you will be able to see the first one where James digs a hole, then where they do the team punch chunking, and then the other thing, and the PAX panels in that list as well.
Can we agree that then anybody who does a Punch-a-Chunk should be known as a Chunch Punk?
Punch chunker?
No.
Chunker?
I like having them have to have punk, but if you're going to swap things around, then it has to be Chunch Punk.
Chunch punk. That's really hard to say.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if we have the authority to make that call, but
No.
You might have to talk to James.
I'm talking to the chat because all they have to do is just basically just ride James until he decides he's going to do it.
That's not a thing I'd like to encourage.
That's fair.
You are
That's fair.
being a bad influencer.
Chat hates me. They won't do anything I ask.
Chat doesn't hate you.
But something we want to encourage is people subscribing to this channel. So I want to thank all the awesome people who subscribed during this stream, starting with this person, Rakdos Punk, 19, for 3 months. Rakdos Punk, possibly Roman, with replacing their V's with U's, but still a punk.
Go! Is a new subscriber. Welcome to the channel. You're now my new favorite username.
Good name.
Until the next one.
Good name. Old Man Johnson MB has been here for 46 months. Welcome back, Old Man Johnson. Welcome back, Old Man Johnson.
Rev Jake Nash for 33 months. Thank you very much.
Goodort for 42 months. A nerdy number, and welcome.
Maybe it's like a command. Go, Dort.
Dort's a good name for a kid. Incredulous Passerby has just been agog at what's been going on here for 17 months. Thank you, Incredulous Passerby.
After 17 months, I don't know if you can classify yourself as a passerby.
Maybe they just have they have long-term memory problems.
I don't know. I constantly passed by in the hallways of school over and over again.
Are you that guy from Memento who can't remember anything?
3
and
4/5.
We want to thank 3 4/5 for all these amazing all these gifts to Brooke Just Bones, HMLWD138, Nox Inviticus, Gale, Dangle J Grouse, G4's Pump.
Yeah.
I think that somebody just put in their password or something, but HDMZWCSH0140 MHEXCN9W.
So good.
Defetos, Light Broco, Judge with blue glasses, Arpie44401, The Looter Scooter, Pluto7443, Gig IDX, J-Man Finest, Erlos, Cade's Guy, Summer Isle, Black Isis, Black Isis, yes, Black Isis, Agu Saku. Thank you all
Wow.
for, thank you to 3 4/5 for gifting all those subs. That is awesome. And Gap Filler for the whole year.
Congratulations.
That would have been Heather. I apologize.
It's okay.
I was
It's
kind
okay.
of on a roll with the other one.
I know. I left a gap in there, and it had to be filled. And thankfully, we had Gap Filler and Paul. It's all good.
And Gap Filler Lord Hosk.
Were you not entertained, chat?
Apparently, Richards was right at the very beginning, possibly just before we went online. Ah, yes. Must have been just before we went online.
Did you quit that?
Richards, thank you for 84 months. Ye gods! Thank you, all you wonderful people, for joining us. Stay tuned for LRMTG. But for now, we will talk to all y'all later.
Do you mean Friday Night Paper Fight?
Oh, right. Friday Night
That's
Paper
what I
Fight?
meant. Friday Night
Okay.
Paper Fight, which is online, so it's sort of LRMTG. But yes.
We have a Patreon and also a store.
Yes. We have a Patreon and also a store. But you don't have to whisper when you talk about it.
I know. The chat will tell you all about those things. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.